Hi, I'm Luke Ayers. I want to tell you something that's not talked about almost anywhere ever. And it's sort of a specific thing. It's to do with taking portraits. Now, portraits are a bit different to any other style of photography that you'll do, for the single reason that you are photographing a living person. All right? You can learn lighting, you can learn camera, you can learn angles, all these sorts of things. And that broadly applies to, products, landscapes, still life, all these sorts of things. But there is this additional factor which goes overlooked many, 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 many times when you're taking photos of people. All right, and I'm talking specifically about portraiture. Portraiture. Portrait. What's the definition of portrait? Portrait is displaying a person. It is displaying a personality, a person, and who they are, and their beingness, and these sorts of things. And because there's something special about people in that they can magically get up and move around and change the world and all this kind of stuff, whereas a rock cannot do that, there is this additional little factor that I want to tell you about and just reinforce a bit because it is quite important. And this thing is, when you're taking portraits, the primary thing that you want to focus on in a portrait, as in I want to capture the essence of this person, is their expression. Their expression. What you see too much of today, and what makes it a bit sickening to just scroll through things like Instagram, is that you see people, but you don't really see people, do you? You see bodies. You see fancy clothes. You see, sexually suggestive things. But you rarely see the person, like who they are, their personality. Now try and remember right now, what was a particular portrait that you saw and you were really like, whoa. You're like, wow, I know this person. Or wow, that person has something. It's because the photographer was able to capture in that moment the expression of this person's personality. Like the essence of who they are, their identity, not just their face, not just their makeup, not just their hair. Like all this stuff is just claptrap. It's just rubbish. It's kind of like, I'm talking specifically about portraiture here, okay? I understand that, there's different types, fashion photography. Okay, it involves people, but what's the purpose of fashion photography? You're talking about clothes there, friend. Fashion. The purpose of it is to promote the clothes. The person is just the accessory to the clothing, really. All right? But portraiture, true beauty. You see these classic paintings which are portraits of people, and it's so engaging, right? And it's not because the person's necessarily good looking. You see some amazing, a portrait of, maybe an old person, 100-year-old lady, right? And she's staring at the camera, and you're just like, wow, what is she thinking right now? There's something in those eyes, And she's ugly as hell because she's 100 years old. But you've captured her personality. That is what portraiture, I believe, is truly about, all right? And then as a photographer, here's the mistake. Portrait photographers, because you're obviously taught, okay, all right, get your light, pose the person, this sort of a thing, And you look through magazines and the agreed upon trends these days say that the person should all look like they're in apathy and don't care about life and whatever else they talk about. But if you want to really capture the person, you need to allow them to express themselves. Okay? Now, in this regard, being a portrait photographer is almost like being a damn therapist. All right? Because, okay, so first of all, you walk in the room, I go, hi, yeah, you pay me to come and take your photo? Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Almost one for one, every time I've done a portrait session with someone, they have told me some anecdote about how, my goodness, this was amazing because the last photography portrait, I was so uncomfortable. Burk. It's because the portrait photographer didn't understand in that instance that, it's not about the person's body, it's about the person. All right? Being a portrait photographer is allowing the person to feel comfortable and relaxed in your presence and in the presence of this damn thing that's like, whoa, paparazzi style, in your face, Not many people at all like a camera in their face, So that's a barrier you have to overcome and make the person feel comfortable in your presence, in the camera's presence, and then you work with them and you allow them to express who they are. And if they're comfortable enough around you, they will do this naturally. And you won't have to tell them to do a damn thing. Did you know that? All right, so this is the specialty of portrait photography. And if you're some kind of robot that's kind of like walks in, it's like, I will take your photo now, stand like this, and you are like some nervous, robotic, strange person, it's going to show in the photos because you will take a photo of this person. And regardless of how good the lighting is, their outfit, how good their skin is, you will see in their eyes that they were uncomfortable, and the other thing is, if they're not expressing themselves, then usually what, people do is they will give a fake version of themselves. They will express something that they can express that might be acceptable to you as the photographer because you're not making them feel damn comfortable at all, right? And so you get these, photos of maybe pretty girls and they're just like, dude, that girl is uncomfortable. That girl is not happy right now. That girl is posing, right? That's not a memorable shot of a person. That's not capturing an essence of the person themselves. Maybe I'm saying too much about this, but it's kind of like, this is something to keep in mind. You want to take portraits? Good. Capture the person. Look beyond what they even look like and capture the damn person. Their personality. But you'll only see that if you allow them to express it. Okay, so that's my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. It works for me 100% of the time. And people walk away and they're like, wow, that was fun. That was actually the first photo shoot I enjoyed. Because I was just chill around them. I was just like, hey man, what do you feel like doing? How are you? Let's get a coffee. This sort of a thing, It's like being a good friend. You've got to be a good friend. You've got to be in good communication with people when you're trying to take their portrait. You're trying to capture something that is inside them and that, in normal social circumstances, they don't show, Usually if it's late at night and you've had a long dinner with someone and they've finally brought down all their walls and all their barriers and then they're finally like, you know what, I just felt terrible. If you had a camera right then and you captured that moment, obviously, that's the worst thing to do in that situation. But you would have captured a moment of true, honest expression. And portrait photography, in my opinion, is about capturing the truth.